Since my last video about eBay's simple delivery, things have slightly changed in that nothing has changed as yet. eBay stated that on the 15th of April, that simple delivery was going to be the only way, that the custom delivery, etc., advanced or whatever, was no longer going to be there. However, I'm going to my book category and I notice it is still available, the custom option. I can't believe that will remain forever. Apparently, other people have reported that it's disappeared off their system. So I guess over time that it will disappear on mine as well. However, I'm not putting much up at the moment, putting very little, 1 or 2 items maybe a day at most. So I've only got about 10 or so items. So I'm just going to quickly show you my eBay and also now what I'm also doing on another platform. So here's my eBay Seller Hub. Whew, get the word out. Okay, with this you can see I've got a few active listings, not many. I mean, before I had about 250 odd. Now I've got down to 10. Well, in this, I'm actually going through some of these unsold ones, and that's where I put them all. So if I click there, unsold, you can see lots and lots of listings. I'm also using the opportunity just to update some of the listings, maybe change the prices, those sort of things. But let's just go to one of the items. I'm just going to go to this one, and I can relist at any point. So relist. So if I relist, and now if I go down here, it's got all the details. I'm reasonably happy with this. All the details here, go down, all the way down. And you can see then we've got this. We've still got this, the postage policy, simple delivery, and we've still got this weird switch to advanced option. So just click there and switch to advanced and you get custom postage. So please, if you're putting comments saying, oh, well, this is the way I do it, this is how you can do it. I do realise, yes, you can still click advanced custom postage, but technically on the 15th of April, eBay said that that was going to go. So now I'm just going to go with this and also postage preferences. Now I was really dead set against every. I'm not particularly happy with every. Not particularly for any great reason, but the fact that it's hard for me to take the items to a post office or collection point. They are quite a distance. So with this, I prefer to keep it really, obviously Royal Mail. But I'm gone back now and changed it and it's every. It does mean a bit of a walk if it's selected. We've still got a few issues here with all these various package sizes. We've still got 2 kilograms, 15 kilograms. They still haven't introduced 5 kilogram or anything. And they've got this now up to 1 kilogram large letter. I'm not certain how many large letters are that, but still. Obviously a comic book, yes, perhaps. But still, for me, 1 kilogram, I'm generally going to go with that one or this one. So, okay, I've got this. In this case, buyer pays £3.44. It seems to keep changing the amount. I've noticed it. Sometimes it's one value, one time it's another value. Maybe it's because I put every, it's reduced it down. So that's something to be aware of. If you're using the both of the actual Royal Mail and every, then you might find a different rate here. But so that's reasonable. And I've got 60 days. And so I'm just going to quickly add this back in again. List for free. Yes. So I've got that running. However, what I have been doing is I've been going on VINTED. So I'm just going to now go to VINTED. So let's just click on there. Here's my VINTED. And with VINTED, you can see you've got a number of options here. Shows you my recommended. Luckily, since actually going on this, before it was lots of clothes it was showing, but it's worked out that I probably like books more than clothes, which is possible. Love that one. That sounds like quite good. Japanese graphics. That's one to maybe check out. £5. I think the prices are quite reasonable on VINTED. I have noticed that the prices are quite decent. So that one's maybe a Taschen book. Really good. Now, what you can do, I'm just going to go up here. So if you want to sell on VINTED, now I'm not going to actually sell a new book. Obviously, I haven't got any books I'm just going to sell, but I'm just going to go to an existing one. But say I want to sell, I just click sell now and it brings up a display of all the things. So let's just click sell now and you can see you get all the sort of standard sort of things that you have to enter. And you can upload photos. So you do exactly the same on eBay. upload photos, or just in my case, I generally put them in Google Photos, and then from my phone, and I just drag them in very quickly that way. I'm certain there's other ways to do it. You probably can get an app. I'm certain a VINTED app, do it much quicker. It's just the way I'm working. Perfectly happy. I might change my way of doing that. One thing that's slightly weird, you get a lot of favorited and also lots of things, quite a lot of notifications popping up all the time, which is sometimes a bit odd, but I don't mind. Not at this point anyway. So then put a title, exact same as I would on eBay. And this is a slight confusion. Describe your item. When I first started, I started to put the item description about the item itself. Like it's a book, blah, 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 what was in it, all that sort of thing. I think what they really mean here is that it's clean, that it's in decent condition, it's all very nice, there's no bends or whatever, or tears on the book, etc. And also a category. You've got quite a decent selection of categories. I'm always generally going for weirdly, there's no books here, but you can go for entertainment. For me, books are in entertainment. Okay, that's fine. And then you put the price and upload it. So, okay, I don't want that now. Obviously, what I want to do is quickly show you with one of my items. Where are the items? Well, you have to go up here. So you can see there, I've got a little profile pic, very tiny little profile pic. And I can click there and it comes up with all my orders. And my balance at the moment, you can see, is 0. I've only really started last week or so, and it's been reasonable. I've done reasonably well. I'm reasonably happy with my orders. I've had 5, I think 4 or 5, which I think is reasonable in a fair short space of time with very few items. So balance is set to 0. I haven't been paid yet. I assume that that's going to take a bit of time once everything's sorted, once people have got it, they've notified they've got it, etc., etc. Then the balance will increase. And then obviously I think you can withdraw it at some point. I haven't explored all that yet. That's for maybe another video. But let's go and just click on my view my profile. And you can see I've done all the verification. And that's really basic sort of verification. Google, email, mobile phone, the usual standard set of things where I'm located. You can see I'm located in Maidstone. Never made any secret of that. Great town in Kent. And you can see then I've got this, comes up with these lovely things, frequent uploads earned, etc. Encourage buyers, etc. Don't lose your listing streak. I love those sort of things, I must admit. But I do like that VINTED does have the views, 8 views. I think is actually quite reasonable. I'm quite certain if I stuck that on my eBay one, I would have 0 views, and I only put that up I think yesterday. That was yesterday night. But so with that, 8 views, I think it's quite reasonable. And there's others here, 27 views for Art Deco. I'm quite certain on eBay I was getting 0 for an Art Deco. And I'm mainly going to be putting probably art and maybe some comic book related, but mostly comic book stuff will be going on to another, obviously eBay probably at some point. I'm going to do it slowly. Not going to do it quick. As far as I'm concerned, it's sort of closed. It's in sort of holiday mode is the best way to think for me. So you can see here, let's just click this one. Just click it and then you can edit it. So click here or double click. Come on. It's going to come up. It will come up. Yes, eventually. I'm too impatient. So there it is. Pops up and you can see I've got my pictures for it. And obviously I've got 2 pictures there and I've got the price. And also, which I like quite nicely, is it does show it very clearly the amount of money it's going to cost in terms of the buyer protection. It's exactly the same as with, obviously, on eBay. I don't know if it's better or worse. I'm not certain the rate that they've gone for. On eBay, it's 75 pence plus whatever the 4%. So it might be about the same, I guess. Got here the condition, blah, blah, blah. You can mark as sold, mark as reserved. Nice little buttons, very easy. I actually find VINTED less clunky than eBay. eBay has a tendency to require too much rubbishy information, which I think is irrelevant most of the time. It requires this, it requires that, whether it's this or whether it's X library, not X library. I mean, which is good, and I guess over time they've added lots of stuff. But personally, that's the sort of thing I would put in the description. X library, slightly, what's his name, and the name of the writer, It's a book, hardcover, the sort of things you would put in a description, in the title. Personally, that's where it should go. All the rest of the stuff on eBay, I think, is just irrelevant. They make it too clunky. But now, let's edit it. So I want to edit it, just change something. I'm not going to change anything, but let's just click on it. And you can see here, I can, if I want, go down and change it. Say, instead of 4, I could put it to 3. I think most of my art books, I'm looking around about £3 or £4. They're all, and another thing I like to put in here, there's a L2 code. What does that mean? Large 2. Means 2 kilograms and large. I just want to know it. So later on when I come to it, because I found one thing when I've done this and processed it, I got the label, because when it's all prepaid. So it's prepaid, exactly the same as eBay with a simple delivery. It's prepaid. So, and the buyer pays. So the buyer decides they want a service. So let's just go down here and you can see, I love this, see what similar items are selling for. I never really bother because I know I've looked at other ones. I'm happy with that. £4, I'm happy with. But here you get a C sizing thing and you can see there's a long list. You've got every, and you can go to preferences and you can turn them off. You don't have to go with those. So if you decide I don't want every, because the reason for me for every is problematic, because it's the closest one is really the other side of town for me. It's a long walk over to the other side of town. I went over yesterday. It was Easter Monday, which was a bad idea because WH Smith's was closed. WH Smith's apparently accepts these every ones. But I went up to petrol station, went to they had a lovely one of these things where you put the box, you put it in the box. So you put it in there. And then I typed the number about 15 times. It took forever because I didn't see, I just had the code already and everything. So I typed the code, all that sort of stuff. And it just didn't recognise it. Unfortunately, I don't know if it was certain, but it's O or 0. I think that was causing it a problem. I think there was something like that. But when it did eventually accept it, and I passed it over, there's a little sort of red laser thing. So I scanned it over. I didn't notice that at first. So I put that, scanned it, and it then opened the DPD one, not the every. And I cancelled. I thought, why? I don't know. I was going to put it in the DPD one or wherever it was because I wanted it in the every box. That didn't open. I couldn't understand that. So it was maybe me just doing it wrong. But it's just, I thought that was a great start. Luckily, I then took it up to a local post office. It was further up the road. Luckily, it was open and accepted the packages. So cross fingers, it's off and on its way at this very point. Much less time. Okay, there's also Royal Mail. And you can see you've got 2 kilograms. This is very confusing, I have to say. You go through this, and this is really hard to work out, especially since there's so many of them. You think L plus 2W plus, I mean, need a degree in mathematics to go through all this work, is less than 245, length is less than 100. Really? That is such a complicated load of different things to work out. It's quite possible you could accidentally go wrong with that bit. So far, Royal Mail, I always like Royal Mail, but no one's used that yet, so that one is, I don't know why. But in post must be reasonably priced because I've noticed a lot of people seem to like that one. In post, and that is most convenient for me because it's actually used by a locker up the road from my house. So I can just simply walk up the road, 2 minutes, 3 minutes walk, and I can drop it off at in post. So if people buy, please use this one. I think for me is obviously a great one. Certainly for just the pure get into the post office, get into the delivery place. DPD is another one. I don't know if there's any local ones because this is the thing. When it's selected, it does give you locations. So you can go and click and just check out shipping locations. Sometimes they're ridiculously distant. Sometimes the details give you details saying that this place is open. Now, they might not have any space. And that's the problem with the every for me for sometimes. But it's also sometimes is that when you get there, they're not open because they use different times. They close on certain days. You might find on a Tuesday, the shop might be open, but unfortunately their postal service is not open until 10 o'clock because they're doing customer training or whatever, or staff training. Okay, you also got Yodel. I've had one of those as well. That seems to be reasonably successful. That was in a different location as well. So we got all these. So there's a lot. You can see there's a lot more. I assume that this is the sort of thing that will be coming to eBay shortly as well. So, okay, once you've done all that, you can also promote things and you can click save. Well, I'm not going to do anything now, update this, but I wanted to go through that. That's Vinted, just setting up. Very easy. Absolutely. I find this Vinted a lot easier to set up than eBay. Now, I'm not putting prices very high. Prices probably most of the Vinted ones will be probably around the £4 or £5 ones. The eBay ones, things like the omnibus editions and stuff, I'm putting that on eBay for the long term. Hopefully, the sort of ones that Vinted will be the arts books and the sort of books, photography books. And I put those on at £3 or £4. The sort of ones that, unfortunately, on eBay never seem to get much of a listing. I don't know why. They don't. They never see. Whenever I look at the listing views, I can put the longest description. I can put every single thing. They just don't seem to get any particular viewing at all. I can't work the reason out. They're great books, but they don't. Maybe it's just not the platform for that sort of thing. I don't know. But this on Vinted, I noticed on Vinted that some of these things, the art books, get a lot more views, which is good. Maybe that platform is more that sort of audience, I guess, that are going to be interested in art books. Who knows? But that is Vinted. As mentioned, I'm not doing very much on my eBay. Haven't closed it. I put a video out saying about I'm closing my eBay. I did for about a couple of days. But then I searched around looking at lots of other ones and found like other ones so hard. And the worst one, I won't mention their name, but they're very big, I think is more a platform for bigger individuals now, bigger companies, whatever. It just doesn't seem there's a lot of stuff that requires approval and things. Now, maybe other people have found it very good to put stuff on and do immensely well with it. Maybe they know how to work with the system and they go through it but for me, I found it a lot harder. Apparently things have changed since about 2019. I used to do a few books and things on that platform back in the day. It was quite easy. Put it up, bang, fine. I remember at the time, reason why I went to eBay, and I'd forgotten why I'd gone off. The reason was the approvals, because DC and Marvel, I think DC, I don't know about Marvel, but DC requires an approval for stuff, and I think, no, it's just too much work, really, just to get approval all the time for things. And I've noticed when I went back on again that it was loads of art books. They popped up and said, require approval from the company, etc. You have to put the invoice in and all that sort of stuff. And for just decluttering my books, there's a lot of work. If you're just selling it for a couple of quid and you just want to just getting rid of books and decluttering various things, that's why Vinted seems to be, for me, at this point, cross fingers, seems to be going well. The only thing I would say on Vinted, and maybe it's the same on eBay as well, is that it's got an AI system or something that seems to jump on every time. If you get a customer and they send you a message saying blah, 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 and you reply to that, I think I've had 3 or 4 now, quite a few of these. We have stopped in your, what's the name? We've noticed some activity. I mean, I'm just answering. I'm sending a thank you for your purchase. Or, yes, that book is blah, 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 or this book is with this or that. It then interprets it as somehow against the policy or terms and conditions, which I think it's got a bit too hypersensitive system that jumps on. If it's because they're going to mean that a lot of the people in Vinted, because they have to obviously then send it off to check it. And they do. I mean, every one of them have been said, sorry, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. But I did notice that it does seem to have a tendency just to quickly knee jerk, and send a message saying you've done something wrong, which was a bit disturbing at first. But after a couple of times, I think, because normally about about 5 seconds later, they obviously, if someone's looked at it or something's looked at it and realised, yeah, I'm just saying thank you for the order. Or I'm posting it today. Something like a nice sort of, you send out. Maybe I shouldn't send that out. Maybe I shouldn't bother putting messages saying thank you for the order. Maybe just old-fashioned in that sort of thing. That it's just nice to say thank you. Anyway, hope you found this of interest. Will you be going on Vinted? Will you be sticking with eBay? Do you find that the simple delivery is fine? Are you still seeing that you can still do custom delivery or advanced or whatever on your thing? Because I say it still does seem to be available. So that'd be interesting to know whether it is slowly but surely changing. Also, if you're selling books on eBay, have you noticed you no longer get that? Because at the moment, I certainly see the custom service, custom option. But it doesn't mean that maybe other people have got that or not. I don't know. It's always one of these weird things. Maybe it's just doing it individuals, groups of individuals, different places, different locations, different categories. There's got to be a logic somewhere. Their system, obviously, it's doing it over time. Well, please subscribe to the channel. I'm always adding book reviews all the time, as well as, of course, a little bit about Vinted and my experiences with Vinted. I'm certain I will do a few more Vinted ones as well as probably eBay as well later on. Also, please subscribe. Thank you much. Bye.